Welcome to another installment of Leadership Landscape, where we go inside the minds of local community leaders, and in this case, Louisville legends, and offer some keen insights into how they see themselves, but most importantly, just what makes them tick. I'm host Kirt Jacobs of Leadership Landscape, and former interviews have involved former mayors, state politicos, nationally renowned sports writers, heads of business concerns, community activists, and developers. Today, our guest needs little to no introduction if you're born or been in Louisville for any length of time. His formal name is Denzel E. Crum. We all know him as Denny Crum. He's the former UofL Cardinals basketball coach, and today he co-hosts the Joe B. and Denny Show. Allow me to read a bit of his bio to you. And buckle in, it's a statistical envy of many college coaches. He was born in San Fernando, California. Crum is best known for coaching the University of Louisville between 1971 and 2001, compiling a 675-win, 295-loss record. Crum coached Louisville to 23 NCAA tournament appearances, including 19 in a 24-year stretch. And he guided Louisville to 2 NCAA championships in both 1980 and 1986. And I, as a young boy, was here in Louisville both of those nights, and I can tell you it was truly something to behold to be in this town on those nights. Prior to coaching at Louisville, his own sports history is nothing short of impressive. As a player at LA's Pierce Junior College from 1954 to 56, he averaged 27 points a game. And Crum then played for the UCLA Bruins under legendary coach John Wooden from 1956 to 58, earning the Irv Pohlmeyer, I hope I pronounced that correctly, Memorial Trophy in 1957, which is an annual award presented to the outstanding first-year varsity player, and the Bruin Bench Award in 1958 as the team's most improved player, scoring 346 points in 49 games at UCLA. Crum then served as an assistant to legendary UCLA coach John Wooden from 1958 and 1960, and then from 1962 through 68 he became assistant coach and then head coach at Los Angeles Pierce College, nothing else, being inducted into the school's Athletic Hall of Fame. He then landed back in 1968 as Coach Wooden's top assistant and chief recruiter for UCLA before beginning his legendary career as the head coach of the University of Louisville in 1971. Crum is widely credited with pioneering a now common team strategy of concentrating on strong fundamentals early in the preseason by scheduling tough non-conference matchups in order to prepare his teams for March's NCAA tournament, better known as March Madness, where one defeat ends the season. Also, he was an early user of the 2-2-1 zone press, and his team's exciting style of play earned them the nickname the Doctors of Dunk. Crum's 1980 national champions are thought to have popularized the now infamous high five, and Crum guided the Cardinals to 6 Final Fours between 1971 and his second national championship in 1986, earning him the monikers, I love this, Mr. March and Cool Hand Luke. He was named College Coach of the Year 3 times during the 1980s, and of course he's enshrined into UCLA's Hall of Fame in 1990. In 1993, Crum became the second fastest coach in history to win 500 games, and in 1994, Crum was inducted into the Naismith, forgive my pronunciation, Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. And in 2001, he finished his career with an NCAA tournament record of 42 wins, 23 losses. He has coached 28 University of Louisville players who went on to play in the NBA. And in 21 of his 30 years as a Division I head coach, he had 20 wins or more, including 14 straight, averaging 23 wins per year. In his retirement, Coach Crum has not simply faded into basketball lore. Between his passion for hunting and fishing, he married local anchorwoman Susan Sweeney in 2001, and he has found the time to to co-host the Joe B. and Denny Show. Maybe Joe B. would think he's coaching it. A radio talk show with former collegiate college rival Joe B. Hall from the former University of Kentucky. And get this, he has laid aside one set of cards to pick up another. Crum's penchant for poker has led him to give his name to the Denny Crum Poker Open, which is held annually at Caesars, Indiana in the greater Louisville area. Coach Crum, if anyone had told me I would sit down with you for half an hour after graduating from that school that bleeds blue, I would have laughed at him as a young kid. It is truly an honor to have you here on Leadership Landscape. Thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Kurt.
Thank you.
Nice to be here with you.
What drives you to do what you're doing? I mean, obviously you're an active guy. You're still active in post-retirement from college.
You know, I think when you grow up in athletics, competition is what pushes your button. I think it's a way of life, and it's so extensive, and that it kind of bleeds over into everything else that you do. And you know, like I still play competitive poker and golf and fish a lot, and I compete in all those things, and I think it's just part of your nature of your makeup. In fact, if you're not competitive, you probably won't last long in the coaching business. And I think you look at yourself and you say, yeah, I'm competitive, sometimes probably too much. My wife says I need to tone it down a little bit sometimes, and whatever she says I do. She's got a black belt in karate.
Oh, really? Maybe we need to have her on here. Whom do you credit most influential in your life, Coach? It can be more than one person.
Well, I'd have to say there are two in particular. My father, who was also grew up in athletics and did a lot of things, and was very instrumental in getting me started playing football and baseball, and kind of got basketball going on my own with another guy. But I would say probably if I could only pick one, I would have to say Coach Wooden. When you get an opportunity to play for a coach like Coach Wooden, and then you have an opportunity to coach with him, and then against him.
You often thought I was a little guy watching you play.
You just you have to consider yourself to be one of the luckiest human beings alive, because nobody's ever done better at collegiate basketball coaching than John Wooden. And his philosophies, the way he went about organizing everything, and the teaching of the things that you have to teach young people to be good players and to have good teams. I mean, he would tell you that basketball is a game of conditioning, fundamentals, and team play. You get them in shape, you teach them the fundamentals of the game, and then you get them to play together, and that's what basketball is. And if you asked him what he would be, he would tell you he's a teacher. And that's what I did. I taught basketball. I also taught a lot of life lessons.
Off the court.
Off the court and on the court too at times. But you know, you look back on your career and you try to define what you did, and hopefully you had a big impact on the lives of a lot of young people. And I find that I'm a lot closer now to the players that played for me than I was when I was coaching them. That they look back and I think they have a better understanding of what you were trying to do when they get out in the real world and learn that it's not all peaches and cream and then somebody there helping you do everything. I mean,
well, you sent a bunch of them to the NBA, so you couldn't have done all bad, you know. So.
But even the ones that, you know, I'm just as proud as the ones that you know, are attorneys or doctors or lawyers. It doesn't matter, whatever they wanted to do, as long as, you know, it was something that they wanted to do, then you had to support them in those things.
What was the most defining moment of your life, on the court or off?
I would have to say probably when I was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1994, for a couple of reasons. One, it represented a career, not just any 1 year of successful coaching. It does represent a career. It's a career achievement. And the other thing I think was the fact that when you are inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame, you have to have somebody that's already in the Hall of Fame to present you.
Wow.
And Coach Wooden did that for me.
So
it's you know, those two things probably would be hard to beat. I mean, even more than any other single year or anything. It was
great.
Very
and
defining
for him to be
me.
there. If there is one, Coach Crum, what is your biggest professional regret? In other words, if you could armchair quarterback, well, I shouldn't say that to a basketball coach, but
it's all right.
Or hindsight 2020, is there? It can be professional or personal. You know, regret's kind of a strong word. Some of our guests don't like it, but.
Well, I guess professionally, I can think of a number of things that I don't know that in some cases there's nothing that you can do about them. I can remember U.S. Reed throwing in a 50-footer that kept us out of the Final Four one year. And we knew he was going to get the shot, and we had him double-teamed, but it didn't seem to matter. He threw it in from the midcourt line, and he said, I threw up a prayer, and it was answered. Yeah. And sometimes, you know, you do everything you can, and you're well-prepared, but sometimes things just don't turn out the way you wanted them to. And so, I mean, things like that. In 1977, Larry Williams broke his foot. And we had played Marquette earlier in the season, and we beat them on their own floor. And they were eventually won the national championship that year. And we had the best team. But after Larry Williams, we had gone and played in Las Vegas against Jerry Tarkanian's Running Rebels, and they fouled out 6 of our top 7 guys and ended up beating us 96-93. And then we went to Tulsa after that to play our first conference game on the way home, and Larry Williams broke his foot in that game, and we were just not the same, you know, after that. I mean, you can pick lots of things, I guess, in a 30-year career that you would like to do different, but you really can't do them different. You just do the best you can do.
On the flip side of that, Coach, what is your biggest professional triumph, either again on the court or off?
Well, probably, I guess, the national championships. There's a lot of great coaches that never won a national championship, and we were fortunate. I was really fortunate. I was part of 3 of them at UCLA as an assistant coach, and then won 2 national championships here at Louisville. And it would be hard to pick any career achievement that would have overshadowed those. Final Fours are great and all that stuff. It's funny though, you know, if you think about it, if someone told you at the beginning of the year you'd be in the Final Four, you'd say, oh, great. But you know, once you get there, it's not enough. I mean, you get there, but you want to win, and your fans are the same way. Yeah. Well, we have this opportunity, let's take advantage of it. But competition's tough. And the people out there's a lot of great coaches and a lot of great players. And to win 1 is hard to believe, but to win 2 and be a part of 5, why, I mean, I just count my blessings.
Yeah, it's coaching, I think, Coach, is what it is. What do you find exciting about all those 30 years you're doing this stuff with the poker, you know, post-retirement? You now have this show that's got a lot of popularity with, I guess you could say, your arch rival back in the day, Joe B. Hall of the University of Kentucky.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I guess what do you find exciting about all that you do?
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's the competing. You know, when you get to a game time, you go through all your teaching and your practices and everything that you do, and then the game is kind of the showpiece. It's kind of it shows the results of what you've been working and trying to accomplish, and matching your wits against the other coaches. To me, always was the most fun, the most exciting. I mean, I still get excited when I go to games and it comes down into the last 2 minutes of the game, and I like to figure out what I think I would do. And of course, it's not going to be the same as what someone else would do. It doesn't mean I'm right and they're wrong, or vice versa. It's just the way you did things, and that was always exciting. And just the competing itself excites me. I mean, when I go play in a poker tournament, I'm excited. I mean, it makes me focus and makes me concentrate, and it makes me want to I don't care if there's 3 old ladies from Pasadena in there I'm competing against. I want to win.
Right.
In fact, I took my mother on a cruise once to Alaska, and every afternoon there wasn't a lot to do on the boat. We played bingo, and I won, along with this other lady, won the championship, so to speak, the coverall they call it, I guess, and we were up there getting ready to be introduced to everyone else that had been playing, because we both won on the same coverall on the same number. And I asked her if I said, you want to flip a coin because it was $1,600 prize. And,
wow.
and she said, no, my husband would kill me. And at that time, I never thought about what the result would be on the other side of the coin, but it just seemed to me like, I wanted to be the winner, not share it with someone else. So the competing has been part of what I've always done, and I still do that on the golf course or in the poker room or whatever I do, fishing even.
Yeah. Well, this show's about leadership, and one thing I want to ask you, are there any parallels between when you're sitting at that poker table and the basketball court? I don't know if you want to give away your hand. You know, a lot of people will see this show, but is there maybe one or two or three things that are very similar, or is it just totally mutually exclusive?
Oh, there's a lot of things that are similar. I mean, being prepared. The week before I played in the World Series of Poker, I played online 14 hours on Saturday and 14 hours on Sunday, because in the World Series of Poker, you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to just sit there. And of course, you have a break here and there and a dinner hour, but you start at noon and you don't finish till 3 in the morning. So you have to learn to concentrate for long periods of time. You have to have a world of patience. And I always found that I was very patient about basketball, but it's a stretch for me to say that I'm patient at everything, because I'm not. But I learned to be patient professionally, and it's carried over, and I do have a lot of patience. The first World Series I played 3 hands in 7.5 hours. I just didn't get any cards, but I mean, most of the people would go ahead and play some of those other hands even though you were going to get beat in them. I mean, just because you couldn't sit there that long without doing that. So I just feel like, that's a big part of what my whole life has been, and I feel like I've always been good at that.
Again, this show's about leadership. Can you define leadership in one word, Coach? It can be more than one, but.
Well, coaching is leadership, and coaching is also teaching. I think teaching is what we do as coaches. Some people teach English and social studies and things, and we teach basketball, and we do a lot of teaching about life that kids hopefully are able to take advantage of, and some of them do, I'm sure, and some of them probably don't, but I've had a lot of them come back later on in life and tell me that now they realize exactly what I was trying to do. They're doing now. They've got their own kids, and they're got their own teams, and they're now going through the same things that as a coach. And that's where I was so fortunate, because I got to play for Coach Wood and then coach under him, and so I learned from both sides of the coin, and I think it really gave me a big advantage in the coaching field.
This is a question that I want to ask specifically to you that we wouldn't ask other guests. You had a 30-year history there at UofL coaching. I'm sure you had opportunities to coach in the NBA because of the track record you had. And I think it's a certain testament to leadership that you never left. Was that by design, or looking back on it just kind of happened that way?
No, I had a number of opportunities that I turned down. I think, if you find some place that you're happy, and you keep things in proper perspective, I could have made a lot more money coaching in the NBA, but my love for Louisville and the way of life here, the people that are here, the fact that they cared about basketball, probably second to none. Were the things that kept me here, and the fact that I didn't take a pro job or go back to my alma mater when I had the chances. I originally thought I would do that, but the longer I was here, the better I liked it, and I just didn't want to leave here. I just love being here, love being a part of this community.
Well, I think I can speak for the community. We're glad you stayed. I think it's an understatement. Again, this show's about leadership. Could you describe in detail maybe a particular incident or scenario, again, on or off the court, in your professional or personal life where you utilized a style or philosophy of leadership that only you seem to kind of see through your eyes?
Well, I did things a little different than most coaches. I think when I started out, the first thing I wanted to do was upgrade the schedule here. Not that playing Georgetown and Bellarmine and there was nothing wrong with that, except that I always felt like early in the year I wanted to play the toughest competition I could play. I think my feeling was that for me to know what my team can and can't do, I have to see them against other really good teams. If I see them against weak teams, I don't think they learn anything, and I don't think I learn anything about my team. It's hard to tell when you're in practice what you can't do, because you don't present everything the same way that opponents do. And your opponents will exploit your weaknesses. And you don't know what your weaknesses are unless you play against good teams. So I feel like that was the one thing that I probably did different than most of the other coaches in the country when I first started coaching. And I think it was really beneficial to our team. I thought our kids learned a lot, and I learned a lot about them. So that was a part of the leadership that I provided to our team that I thought was really good for them. And now you can't be hung up on your one-loss record and stuff if you. Right. But in terms of how fast you can learn, I felt that if I could learn in early December by playing some really good teams, what we couldn't do, that gave me an extra month to learn how to overcome those weaknesses. And so my philosophy, about teaching and leadership was simply I wanted to play the toughest that we could play.
And
I think
it's safe to say you perfected the strategy. You were one of the first
and it
coaches
worked
to do
out good for us, I think.
And this is a question more, I guess, about, even though the show's about leadership, you could apply it to coaching. Is there a difference today in our leaders or coaches than there were in past generations? I mean, you got to coach through several decades. Do you see a difference now in the 80s, 90s, 70s?
I see a lot more coaches and teams playing watered-down schedules.
Okay.
I see that a lot all over the country. And I think I have to feel like that if they're doing that, they must feel like they've got to win a certain amount of games to get into a postseason tournament or something, because I don't really think it helps their teams. I still feel that way. But there's exceptions. I know there's times when you have a real young team, when you have kids that don't have much experience, and you don't want them to get their heads beat in every week, so you schedule them, softer and bring them along a little bit slower. But I always wanted to expose their weaknesses so I had more time to correct them, and that was just the way I did it. But I think in terms of how coaches deal with young people, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference now and as compared to when I was coaching. I think most coaches have the best interests of their kids at heart, and they do everything they can to see to it that they go to class and that they do what they need to do academically to get a degree. And then there's going to be so many of them today that go early into the NBA draft and stuff that they don't get their degrees, or else they left at the end of 4 years to play professionally somewhere, and they didn't have a degree yet, because most kids don't graduate in a 4-year period.
Right.
But but I think all coaches have those kind of things that they really do try to do the best they can with the kids they have.
This may not be a fair question, because some of your former players may see this show as they're surfing along at night or whenever. Is there one team that you coached that just not necessarily stood out, but just surprised you in their abilities, maybe good or bad? I don't know if you want to comment on that. Is there one? Maybe there's two. You coached a lot of teams.
Well, there was a number of them. My first team here, we went to a Final Four, and that was. I probably thought that that's the way it was supposed to be, because I just been to 3 straight at UCLA,
right.
And that's the way it was supposed to be. And I probably thought the next year I probably thought the same thing. But the second year's team that I had, we didn't have a single player that had ever started in a varsity game. and we ended up winning 23 games that year. And that was probably one of the proudest years that we had. Obviously, when you win championships or make Final Fours, those are all special years. But I just, you can't hardly have favorites. Winning the first national championship, boy, it'd be hard to beat that.
Yeah, 1982.
Yeah, and I mean, the second one is. Yeah. The second one was easier for me because in '80 we'd already been to 2 Final Fours and hadn't won a championship. So the question's always, can Crum win the big ones?
Yeah.
And so once you get that monkey off your back, and you do it, now the next one was actually a lot more fun simply because I wasn't under the same pressure. But the first one's always very special.
Well, they didn't nick you Cool Hand Luke for nothing, or Mr. March. This is a question we ask all our guests. I know it's a little bit morbid, but we ask it of all of them. Coach, when the great day comes, how do you want to be remembered? You know, God forbid you walk out of here today, something tragic was to happen. What would you like the players and the fans and everyone to remember?
Well, I hope they remember that I was more than just a teacher and a coach. I try to involve myself in this community as heavily as I can be. In fact, I never learned to say no, and my secretary gets on me all the time because I do so many different things. But to me, giving back is when you love something and you're a part of it, and if you can have a positive influence on the outcome of some things, so you try to do what you can, and I think I would like to be remembered as more than just a coach, but I also probably feel that as a coach, I would like to be remembered as having been successful by playing the toughest competition that we could possibly play.
Yeah.
I think that would make me feel good.
Well, Coach, you've got a heck of a legacy left. Thank you, Coach, for being on Leadership Landscape. It's truly an honor to have you here. I really mean that.
Thank you, Kirt. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, sir. If you have any general feedback or comments you'd like to send to me, please email me at kirt.jacobs@louisvilleky.net.